Okay, so today we are going to do the fourth hub long form journal prompt for loved and connected. So I'm going to kind of slow the roll on this one a little bit, and we're going to do this together. So, right now, we are on, if you're following along in the book, we're at page 284. And before we get into this particular prompt, one of the things that I want to call back to is in the fourth hub, when we're talking about like the kind of like mechanics of love, we're also we're talking about fundamentally presence. So it's showing up, like that devotion. In the notion of devotion, the notion of devotion is the motion of the ocean. No, well, actually, maybe it kind of is. But that it like we show up for the things that matter to us, and that is actually what shows us what matters to us. And that is removed from the idea of like what should matter to us. So showing up as best we can in whatever form is available is an act of love. Showing up without needing to be perfect, just with what is available. Parents know this. Loving anything consistently that you care for. The challenge of it. So it's not only knowing it, it's knowing how hard it is. It's like to love a practice, to show up when you don't feel good, or you don't feel perfect, rather. It's just showing up. If you want to create something, is showing up for it even when you don't feel creative, and just being with it, being present, being with yourself. The other facet of love, as sort of like from a mechanical standpoint, and the reason that I took this approach was that love is this kind of amorphous thing. And so to repair the ability and the capacity for love, to expand the capacity for love, would need to be understanding exactly what the components of it are. So it's first of all the presence, and then it's basically the give and take of it, the receptivity and the generosity, the giving. And this can be, we see this in breathing. So it's taking in and, inhale, exhale, which is in concert with the world of plants. So it's actually like in this kind of synchronicity. But the giving and receiving, so for balancing our ability to love, one of the things that we look at is the ability to receive relative to the ability to give. And giving tends to come easier because we're socialized, and a lot of our adaptations encourage that we are that we're more palatable and agreeable for other people. And teaching the reception of love, to be able to receive and to feel that feeling without becoming uncomfortable and immediately feeling a forcing function of needing to like reciprocate, to be able to just really bathe in the reception. It's part of what we do in this exercise. This is most of the emphasis in Parinama. Well, I think it goes both ways. So in I think it's chapter 7, yeah, the fourth hub, not confusing at all. There's an emphasis on both parts, which is the generosity of how giving has a little pinch to it, and then also how receiving can be an uncomfortable space to occupy. So I'm going to read these. We're going to do these together. I did these this morning. And one of the things that I want to kind of make note of right now is that these practices, they need, like for me, and certainly others, they need a little momentum. They need a little time to kind of thaw. It's kinda like the water through the rusted pipe thing where it's kinda a little creaky at first. So a little bit of patience while this kind of it's like shifting into this and into the feeling of this, because initially some of these prompts can yield nothing, or sort of like yeah, I'd say the nothing, like being like, "Yeah, I don't know," is feeling like, "Oh, that's something," like, like, reacting to that versus realizing it's like it's kind of coming, it's being coaxed forward, and so in that coaxing, just giving it a little time, and so in this, we're just gonna stay with ourselves with a little bit of breathing. So right now, I'd encourage you to put your hand on your heart and just hold it still and breathe in and breathe out. And just to feel whatever whatever arises in this. Like for me, there's kind of like an enlivening and an awakening in this area that I'm feeling. If it starts to feel a little stagnant, just bringing more breath into it. And now for these prompts. The following prompts in this hub are reminding ourselves that we are surrounded by love and for receiving it and inspiring expressions of sincere gratitude. Take an inventory. What do you like about yourself and what do you love about yourself? So that's it. That comes next. But let's start right here by completing the following statement. So you say your name and you say, I know you love me because. So Katie, I know you love me because. And just repeat it if you feel like, oh, there's nothing arising. It's an unusual question and you might be caught off guard with it. So just give yourself a little time for it to arise. Just say your name. Say it out loud and say, I know you love me because. So for me this morning, I said, Katie, I know you love me because. And really nothing came up. Like it was kind of, where I sat and there was like everything felt very surfacey, like it felt forced. And so with a little more time, and I actually walked away from the exercise, and with a little bit more time, came back and I sat down. I said, Katie, I know you love me because you came back for me. So for me, the meaning of that is that in this process, through the process of parinama, that I reclaimed myself. So any abandonment that I'd felt, that I had reclaimed myself, that I'd come back for myself, and that I continue to. And that feels true. Because there were other things that were arising. It's like, I know you love me because, because like of how I take care of myself. And that didn't feel resonant. So find the thing that comes up Might even feel a little embarrassing or weird or surprising. For me, that was surprising. Just listening to ourselves, like, this is the thing, listening instead of kind of talking over the narrative, and feeling that my answer to that is that I know I love me because I came back for myself. That you don't give up, that through the ups and downs, just for even the little glint, the moment, to be here right now, in this investigation, in this process, in this exercise, to be investigating this kind of showing up for yourself. So we're going to move into the next. And also, again, if you need to if it's like nothing's come up, it's not because it isn't there. It just needs a little surfacing. So maybe there's just more time, or maybe something came up right away. Either way, it's there. So it's Katie. I know you love me because your name. I know you love me because. So for these exercises, these were ones that I did, and I will make mention that for me, the hubs that were needed the most attention in terms of expanding their capacity were the second hub and this hub. These are still, or like to a certain extent, active active in terms of expanding. And then in the third hub for me, it was actually kind of containing. As if I give my examples in this, it will become clear. So, like and love. So we're used to focusing on everything that needs work and improvement. But what about what we appreciate? So start by journaling about the difference between liking things about yourself and loving them. That is, liking the friendship you have with yourself and loving the deeper aspects you admire that inspire self-devotion. Now write down at least 3 examples of each. What you like, what you love. Get your journal. Do you like your taste in music? Your ability to cook? Your smile? Your hands? Your style? What do you like about yourself? Do you love your ability to survive difficult circumstances? I don't have a glass of water here, so I'm going to try to cough it through. I think I can get through it. All right, I'll start from the top on that. So do you love your ability to survive difficult circumstances? Your commitment to the people you love? Your ability to remain lighthearted even when things get tough? And I'd also point out that the things to love and like about yourself, like and love, these qualities, it's to look at something just with adoration and to be able to kind of laugh at the things that are so-called negative aspects to it. to just kind of like to be like, yeah, this is why this is this way. And if it's, if you need to take accountability for it, taking those actions, but to really just, there's nothing wrong with you. And in the fourth hub, it's really opening to that fully. The things that we need to improve on, the accountability we need to take, that we can. Or if we don't, that there isn't enough motivation and there isn't really enough of a reason that's moving us. And to look at that. To have your own best interest in mind, to be on your side, to not have an adversarial relationship with yourself, to be judging yourself, to be blaming yourself, to be shaming yourself. And it's like, yeah, I'm tired. Also, like, rest. Needing rest. Needing things that aren't good for you because they're comforting. They're enjoyable. Like that's something being enjoyable. Everything doesn't need to be like netting, like, net results and gains in the traditional sense of like building yourself into being this like kind of perfect specimen. It's like your perfectness is just your aliveness. The idea that it's like the high virtue qualities, like those are the ones that matter. And the things that are enjoyable are the ones that don't, or that you should be ashamed of. This is a life. And your feeling and your love and your appreciation, the feeling just in the moment of feeling that's it. There you are. So, while writing, be mindful of a creeping inclination to point out things that need work. This is not that list. So don't write these things down. This is a love letter. This is a love letter. When you're finished writing, place your hands on your heart. Take a few slow breaths and turn the corners of your mouth up into a gentle smile. So, just first and foremost, tune into the contact and the feeling of your hands on your heart. And breathe in a way that just feels nice, and breathe out into some relaxation. Breathe in to like sort of stretch a little bit, like a and then just turn the corners of your mouth up to a gentle smile. See how far that smile can travel up your face. Before we do the next prompt, one note I want to make is that the importance of our unity with other people, there's an order of operations for this, which is to feel full within ourselves. The division that's created with the belief system that stigmatizes the depth and breadth and dynamism of our love for ourselves, the feeling of our inherent worth, that it's outsourced, that we have this outsourcing model which is a call out for needing someone else to love you, needing someone to love you to show you that you're lovable, and the pressure that puts on someone else. Who else is supposed to be better at that than you? But we've built a model, it's really unstable, that someone else needs to show you that you're lovable. Or that you're better at loving someone else than you are at loving yourself. And I promise you that the better you are at loving yourself, and I mean loving yourself, not like this connection with this cherishing and admiration of your I'll say your divinity, of who and what you are, this feeling, the feeling when you look in the mirror and you recognize yourself. And it's like, it's your beloved. It's a beloved relationship with oneself. Yeah. And it's like, it can be cringy if you're on the outside of it, because there's a lot of construct around it, which is like, that would be embarrassing. Yeah, it's such a scam to believe that. It's really bad. But so this component of the journal, of the prompts and the exercise, is really about this connection that's going inward with love. And now we're looking outward with the next prompt, which is look for helpers. I did this. It was very impactful for me. And this is an exercise I don't think that time here will allow for it. So I'm just going to offer up the prompt and say, and recommend that you do this, which is make a list of at least 20 people who have supported you through your life. Teachers, friends, strangers, coaches, bosses, colleagues, neighbors, artists, authors, and anyone else who has helped you, ranging from small kindnesses and acts of mercy to significant advocacy and inspiration. So if you're following along in the book, this is on page 284. When you're finished writing, take the time to feel deep gratitude for their care and support, and send them loving thoughts. If you want to enhance the exercise, write them a note of appreciation or give them a call. So this doesn't need to be canonized. It's something you can do more than once, and more people can come up. But one of the people that just came up for me was Nikki Tyson. When I moved for work over to the UK, she was a colleague who just absolutely made an extraordinary effort to make me feel cared for and not lonely and isolated. Showed me around, cared for me, and just showed me this kindness and warmth. It can be like that. I mean, just the things that arise. A teacher who pointed something out to you about yourself that nobody else had ever said, and it just lit something up in you. Even think about your parents. As imperfect as my own parents were, certainly by nature, most parents are imperfect. I think about how when I was young, my father told me that I was generous and charming when I was little. And so when I reclaimed myself, when I really started to consciously reclaim myself, it really mattered that I had that marker in the ground, that it was, that it really like was kind of pre-adaptation, or maybe it was an adaptation, but that it was like something that I really appreciated about myself that had existed with consistency. So take the time. And one of the things that this did for me, there are points where I'd hit sort of a kind of like, where's more? And it's just sort of unlocking different chambers in your mind of different time periods and sort of different ways to think of this that open up entirely new, treasure troves of people. Maybe a realtor that helped you get your house or helped you get a great apartment. Boss who helped you when you faced a personal struggle that made work easy for you, if that's happened, or teacher, or a bus driver. Uh, if you were traveling in another country, someone who did something really kind for you. Mira comes to mind. I think of when I was a little, sort of an Ashtangi, that the senior teacher was so kind to me and bought me a book and just showed me this like generosity of heart. And I was by myself practicing in India. And that made me feel really loved and cared for. I still have the bag that the book was in. I still haven't thrown that away. It's like from this, it's here in Boston. Yeah, the kindness of the people in India. Samir, my friend, when I was in Mysore, who like took me to all these cool places, and it was fun. So, I mean, the reason I'm kind of digging into this is that it's sometimes this can be sort of tough because it's like there's kind of a canon of the obvious people, but the more we expand and actually actively bring concentration into this consideration, it's realizing our connection in the world and how our own acts, whether people remember them or not, because when we find that it's like, oh, it's hard for me to remember this, I have to actively work to remember this, also helps not take it personally if people aren't as grateful as we would hope they'd be for the things we do, and realizing it doesn't exactly change whether it matters or not. Doesn't like exact. Yeah. All right. So that's it. I'll see you next time. Bye.